In looking at transformation, the understanding that we have three brains, a concept that I first encountered from the fourth way work, is essential and, in fact, very efficient toward our progress. Hi, I'm Molly Knight Forde, founder of the Awareness School. We have three brains and we must learn to use them. Now, we are usually predominantly in one brain or another. And I guess you could liken it to types. Bennett, who was a student of Gurdjieff, labeled this gradation of brains, calling it man number one was predominantly in their moving center, or the body brain. Man number two was in the emotional brain. Man number three in the thinking brain. And there are many centers which Gurdjieff also talked about. We have an instinctive center that moves off of instinct like an animal, but also is the center that keeps our body moving, the parasympathetic system, our heart beating. We have a sex center. And besides these other three brains to which I just referred, we have higher centers of consciousness. But in order to have access and to be in those higher centers in a permanent way, there must first be work with these three brains. Now, this concept made complete sense to me as a musician. Probably anyone, an artist working in the temporal arts, but in many, many activities, we can relate to this. For me, I could see that this was something that I was trying to achieve as a pianist. I had to physically figure out the technique of the piece, especially if there were challenges. I have to always be in my body, relaxing my body and breathing. But as well, my brain has to track where I am at in the music. If I'm playing from memory, it has to remember which sequence comes next. And the thinking brain is extremely good at analyzing, following sequences, labeling what comes next or what something is. And so we need that. Unfortunately, we are very much educated to live in thought in our thinking center. And of course, the third center is the emotional access to life. And as a musician, I need to feel the music. I'm not a machine who is just saying this finger here and this finger there. That kind of performance or playing of a piece of music comes out very mechanical sounding. For my emotions to be connected, it is very much an essential part of being an artist and connecting the music with my soul and with my audience. But each one of us has a predominant way of approaching life, and we need all three of these brains. In fact, they're not dead in us, but we live predominantly in one of these. And you could liken it to types. The moving center person, which Bennett called man number one, approaches and sees life more from their body. They are kinetic and experience information through their body. They may be more athletic, not necessarily, very coordinated. And sometimes they're more impulsive. The emotional brain, if it's the predominant brain, this kind of person sees the world through their emotions, but not only their reactions, but from a knowing that is beyond thought, or that it just isn't thought. And they may be very empathic, and they may carry the world on their shoulders. And then there are those who are predominantly in their thinking center, and they're much more logical, they're organized, they categorize and conceptualize. And there are assets to all of these brains, and we do use them whether we're conscious of them or not. But what's important in our transformation is to begin to see how we use those brains, and how we cannot get much further if we do not know how to integrate them. And there are certain ways of doing it that are extremely effective, so that we're able to observe which is which. We may be thinking that we are in our emotions, when in fact it is simply identification with thought. So there's much to be learned about how to observe which brain we are in. See you next week.